So tonight, as I say, we've got two lovely patients who've had surgery. They've given us some presentations, and they're going to just talk those through with you. There'll be Fiona going first with hers, and then we'll have Katrina. And afterwards, there's going to be opportunity to have a Q&A with them both. We've also got other people who are watching tonight supporting these guys who've also had surgery as well. So I'll hand over to Fiona. So if you want to put your camera on, that's great, lovely, brilliant. And I'll turn mine off now and be quiet. What we'll do, Fiona, is Liam's got your slides. So you just talk through each slide and then just say next slide and he'll ping it across for you. So just say next slide when you're ready for the next one. All right.
Right. Okay. Brilliant. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect, Fiona. Thank you.
Excellent. So this is my weight loss story for everybody. I have got a slide at the end that is for questions. So if anybody has any questions, if you could save it to the end, that would be great. So if you just move it along, please. Okay, so this is my bariatric journey. I am 2 years post-op. Next slide, please. Okay, so my starting weight was 24 stone and 13 pounds. My current weight is 13 stone and 13 pounds. So in total, up to now, I've lost 11 stone and 10 pounds. Next slide, please. Okay, so how long have I struggled with my life? I have struggled with my life all my life. I was bullied awfully as a child and a teenager. My weight has held me back all my life. I've lost and gained weight repeatedly over decades. Next slide, please. So what have I done previously to try and lose weight? Many different things. I've done Slimming World many times. I've done Weight Watchers. I've counted calories. I've done Rosemary Conley. I've done the Cambridge diet, the Atkins diet. I've been to the doctors and been given medication. I tried everything that I possibly could. Next slide, please. So what did I do? Well, I went to my GP and asked for help. Now, first of all, they gave me medication, and then they referred me to the specialist weight management team, which is in the Wigan and Leigh area. And I took all the support and advice that they offered. I went to exercise classes, I had psychology support, I saw dietitians, I saw occupational therapists, and I was offered bariatric surgery. Now, I went to an education session at, it wasn't Salford Royal, it was a different hospital that I can't remember the name of, but it absolutely terrified me. And I thought, no, I'm going to do it on my own again. It's too much of a big step. And I tried to lose weight again on my own. And I was successful for a short time, as I had been on many other occasions before. But then when it became hard again, I gave up and I put the weight back on again. So I went back to specialist weight management again, and I had another 2 years of support from them. And then I was referred to Salford Royal. I was put on a waiting list and I followed all the support that Salford Royal gave me. And I really thought that this was my last chance to have the life that I really wanted. And after being on the waiting list for, I think, about 18 months, 2 years, something like that, I was given a surgery date of the 13th of June, which happened to be my son's birthday. Next slide, please. So 2 weeks before my surgery, I was asked to go on an LRD diet, which is the liver reduction diet. Now, I've read lots of different people's stories of the liver reduction diet, and many different surgeons ask for people to follow different diets. But my surgeon asked me to go on lean protein and leafy vegetables. So I was eating a lot of chicken, salads, things like that. No root vegetables or carbohydrates or anything like that. And I was really strict to it and stuck to it as best as I could, but it really was not easy. I was hungry a lot of the time. I was lightheaded at first, but I did get used to it. Now, on the 13th of June, I went off to hospital and I waited over 8 hours. Unfortunately, the lady before me had had some complications, so at the very last minute, my surgery was cancelled. I stayed on the liver reduction diet because I said to the surgeon, if there's any cancellations, if anything happens, I'll come in. Now, I only tell you this, I'm not saying it as a complaint about sulfur oil or anything like this. The only reason that I say it is because this is not an easy journey. Things can happen. You can look forward to the surgery date, and right at the last minute, it can get cancelled. And this does happen. Anyway, I was given the next date of the 22nd of June. In between these two dates, I stayed on the liver reduction diet, and the 22nd of June came. Next slide, please. How did I feel? I was absolutely petrified. I'd read horror stories. I worried that I hadn't stuck to the liver reduction diet well enough, even though I had, and worried that I'd wake up and they'd said they wouldn't be able to have done it. And I was absolutely terrified. But I trusted the surgeons, I trusted the people at Salford Royal, and I went ahead with it. Next slide, please. So this is me the day after my surgery. I had 6 scars, and I felt pretty terrible the next day. Although I was able to walk around, everybody was lovely with me, and I got through it. Okay, next one, please. Okay, so next one after that, that's it. So how did I feel after surgery? It was not easy. I felt sick a lot of the time. I could only manage very small amounts of fluid. But the tricky thing is, even though you can only eat a tiny bit at a time, you've got to make sure you're getting enough protein, fibre, fluids, and your medication in. So every mouthful has got to be valuable. It's really important that before you go into surgery, you're prepared for this stage and that you've researched what you're allowed to eat, what you're not allowed to eat, what liquids are best to eat. Now, I found things like beef broth were good. Once I'd done the liquid diet and I moved on to purees, I found protein yogurts were good, things like that. But during the first few weeks and months, I lost a lot of weight. Now, this is a post that I put on Instagram at the time. I have found it quite difficult looking back because it's 2 years ago. I've forgotten what it was like. So I've had to scroll through my posts on Instagram to try and remember what it actually felt like. But in a way, that reassures me because I think, although it was hard, it's over and I got through it and I'm in a much better place now than I was then. So it was worth it. Next slide, please. Okay, 1 year on. How much weight did I lose at 1 year post-op? So at 1 year post-op, I was 15 stone. So I'd lost just less than 10 stone in total. How did my life change 1 year on? I had so much more energy. I felt a lot more confident. I was able to do a lot more. And I was generally just enjoying my life more. I was enjoying buying nicer clothes. I was enjoying being able to spend more quality time with my family. I was enjoying just not feeling exhausted all the time, to be quite honest. Next slide, please. Okay, this is me 2 years on. How much weight did I lose? So now 2 years on, I've lost almost 12 stone. So only 2 stone in the last year. My weight loss has slowed down a lot. There have been small gains and stalls along the way, which can be extremely frustrating. How has my life changed further in the second year? Well, I really enjoy exercising now. I don't get out of breath anywhere near as easily as I used to. I can remember exercising when I was at my heaviest and I felt like my lungs were bleeding. Whereas now, Like yesterday, I went to the gym and I did a full hour of cardio and I absolutely loved it. And I felt on top of the world when I'd done it. And when I think about it, I don't think I could have imagined ever saying I really enjoyed running for an hour. I couldn't have imagined of being able to do that. But I absolutely love cardio workouts now. I look forward to exercise and I find it really helps with my mental health. And like I said, I never thought I'd say that. I get weighed at the gym now and it gives you your muscle mass. And so although I've only lost 2 stone in the last year, I have gained a lot of muscle. So that reassures me slightly. Next slide, please. Any regrets? So I've got a lot of regrets, but the biggest one is, why did I spend so many years held back by my weight? Why didn't I do this sooner? I had the opportunity to have bariatric surgery maybe 2 years before I did, but I was too scared to do it. And I do regret not doing it earlier. One of the things that slowed down me getting the surgery when I did was because of COVID. And if I'd have done it the first time, it would have happened a lot quicker. But we can't live in hindsight, and I'm just glad that I've done it now. So next slide, please. Okay, how has losing the weight affected my life? There are so many things that I'm able to do now that I couldn't do before, that I just didn't have the confidence to do. Like I said, I love exercising now. I go to the gym at least 3 times a week. My mental health is so much better. I feel so much more confident. I feel more motivated to do things. My self-esteem is so much better. I don't worry about what other people think of me as much. I've got a new job that I absolutely love, and I would never have had the confidence to even apply for the job that I've got now. I've got a lot more energy. When I look back on my life before, I was absolutely exhausted most of the time, whereas now I've got energy all the time. I very rarely sit down for long periods of time. I bounce about all the time now. I feel a lot more positive about myself, about my life, about the future ahead of me, about things that I can do with my family, about holidays I can go on. I just feel generally a lot more positive. I make plans for things that I want to do, places I want to visit, things I want to achieve. Whereas before, all I really thought about was how awful I felt, how overweight I was, how uncomfortable I felt, and how tired I was all the time. I feel more confident to wear clothes I like and feel confident in them. It's so nice to be able to go into a normal shop and try something on and it actually fit you. That is just, I can't describe how nice that is. I used to have to go in shops that were just made for big people, and the majority of things that I tried on looked horrendous on me. I went and bought a waterproof jacket yesterday. It was a size 12. I cannot describe how nice that felt to be able to go and buy a nice jacket. That I have to go and buy a waterproof jacket in July is a completely different issue, but it was a size 12 coat. And I look at myself in the mirror in the changing rooms and want to cry because it feels that good. So life is just a lot happier. Next slide, please. So have I struggled post-op? This is in no way an easy option. These books that you can see on the screen are all the diaries that I've written since I had bariatric surgery. Until about 4 months ago, I wrote down everything that went in my mouth, how much water I drank, how much protein I had, everything. But I also got into the habit of writing down things that had made me feel positive that day, whether it was I'd seen my first daffodil in spring, and just trying to make myself feel more positive and not be focusing on the negative things in my life. I think when I look back, I spent a lot of time dwelling on negative things that were going on and would turn to food as a comfort. So along this journey, I've had to question, why did I overeat? Why did I turn to food so much? So that in the future, I've got healthier ways of dealing with mental health problems, which when I look back, I think that was why I got overweight. I wasn't able to deal with life, and I turned to food on too many occasions. But this was not an easy option. I have to be on the ball with protein, fluids, fibre, my medication, how often and how frequent I eat, along with how quickly I eat, how much I chew my food. This is something I have to think about every day. I still eat off a sandwich plate. I still eat with a small knife and fork that, you know, people would call like a cake fork, because I'm psychologically making myself think that I'm eating a larger portion when I'm not. I'm eating a child-size meal, but I'm enjoying food again now. I can go out for meals and eat what normal people would think is a normal size portion, whereas before I was just eating far too much. Next slide, please. Are there any negatives? Now, in my opinion, the positives far outweigh the negatives, but it is important to know as much as you can before you make any decision. Now, for me, there are two big negatives. Number one was hair loss. After about 3 months, I started losing a lot of hair. It has mostly grown back now, but I did not like losing my hair. It was not a nice thing to go through. Being in the shower and big clumps of hair falling out is not a nice experience. But I was prepared for it. I knew it was going to happen. Although I still didn't like it, you just have to be aware that this is something that could happen. Now, I was on top of how much protein I had. I always made sure I had 60 to 80 grams of protein a day, if not more, but I still lost quite a lot of hair. 2, excess skin. I have got a lot of excess skin. My arms, my boobs, my tummy, my thighs, to me, look absolutely horrendous. Now, I am planning to go abroad to have skin removal surgery because I can't afford to have it done here in the UK. But if you are considering having bariatric surgery, you just need to be aware that these are some of the negatives that can happen. Next slide, please. Okay, any questions?
Hi, Fiona. That was, sorry, I'm gonna put my face on as well. That was just absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. I always get a little bit emotional with these because it is such a journey, and you're still on it, and you always kind of will be into a way. But I just think reflecting back on how far you've come, and the fact that you really needed to go through those posts to kind of relive a little bit of what you went through in the early days as well. And it is very individual, so we really, really value these sessions, and we're definitely going to go over to questions, but we'll have Katrina talk first, and then if it's all right, everyone can ask you both once we've heard from Katrina as well. Okay then, so thanks, and over to you, Katrina. So Liam's just going to get your presentation up for you. So if you're, yeah, lovely, you're unmuted, brilliant. Great stuff. And then me and Fiona will just come stop our video.
I'm not sure if I'm on.
Yeah, you're on. You're good.
Yeah,
You're ready.
Right. Hi, I'm Katrina. So I had surgery in February 2023. My start weight was around 20 stone 1, and my current weight is 11 stone 5. In 3 days, I'm actually 17 months out of surgery, and I've lost 8 stone 10 pound. Next slide, please. So that was like my biggest that I've been until about a month ago on the other picture. Next slide, please. So my journey, I always yo-yo dieted. I've tried everything. Slimming World, keto, calorie counting, Cambridge, Weight Watchers. I've done them all. And then I went to the doctors for something in 2019, and the nurse she'd had surgery, so she'd mentioned it to me. So she got me referred over, and I joined the specialist weight management service. I was attending classes, and I lost around 2 stone, but I was always stuck at the 2 stone. And then COVID hit. Classes stopped, everything was over the phone. They tried to keep on top of things over the phone, and it was hard, like constantly, and it was just phone calls after phone calls. You never saw anyone face to face. But then fast forward to February 2022, and I got the phone call saying I had my 4-in-1 appointment. So I went to Salford, had that appointment, was told I was on a waiting list. I'd been tested for sleep apnea, and then I didn't really carried on with the specialist weight management service and didn't really hear anything. And then in the November, I got a phone call, and they were saying that your surgery is in February 2023 in Auckland's hospital. And I went in for surgery that day. Everything went really smoothly, all perfectly. And I was home the morning after. Someone came around and said, right, you can go home, keep on top of it, drink your fluids. So I went home the day after. Next slide, please. So after surgery, the first few weeks was absolute mental torture for me. I thought I was going to wake up and not be hungry, but I was hungry. I was starving constantly, and everybody seemed to be eating all the foods I loved. I walked out the house, I cried, I padded, I cried some more. I was convinced surgery hadn't worked for me. I missed food so much. I'm quite ashamed of how much I cried. And then I got to puerperal stage, and I was still a bit like, oh, I don't think this is for me. This is horrendous. I don't think it's worked. As soon as I hit soft food stage, that was it. I had 2 mouthfuls, and I was like, no, I'm full. I'm full. It's definitely worked. Everything's working, and it was all worth it. All the tears, all the tantrums, all the walks out, everything was worth it. And then once I hit around 12 months, I started being able to snack again. I couldn't sit down, still can't sit down and eat like a full big meal. But if you put crisp in front of me, I'd be able to pick it up constantly. So you've got to be mentally ready for things creeping back in, things coming back, and you've got to mentally be like, no, don't do it. Like, stop yourself. You can have a treat. You can have anything you want in moderation. I eat whatever I want in moderation, but you can't. You've got to notice it before it happens. Next slide, please. So my downsides were the first month, like I said, mental torture. It killed me. I was not ready for it. You've got to make sure you're mentally ready. That first month, I was definitely not ready for it at all. And then the hair loss. After a couple of months, my hair started falling out in massive clumps. I was mortified. So I chopped my hair straight down to a bob. It was like down past my bum, and I just chopped it straight off. I said, one big cut, I'll not feel like I'm losing as much. But now it's like really healthy and really nice again. So it was bad going through it, but then afterwards it was okay again. Cold. During winter, I was so cold. I was like, I had 2 pairs of pajamas on, I had an hoodie on, I had quilts wrapped around me, I had the heating on. Be ready to be cold. I was constantly freezing. You need some fluffy pajamas. And then also my only other downside is sometimes I get a bit too excited. If we've got family round and they have a takeaway, and I'm like, oh, I can pick at this and I can pick at that. And I'll pick like a couple of things too quickly, and then that's it. It's like I feel really sick. I still do the 20-20-20 rule. I still chew everything 20 times. I still wait 20 seconds. I still follow all the guidelines, and that's one of my main things is follow your guidelines, because follow your surgeon's guidelines. You'll join Facebook groups And there's a lot of people going through the same journey, but different ways, and everybody's being told different things. Everybody has different LIDs. Some people are told they come into surgery and they can't have coffee, they can't have caffeine. Some people are told they can have as much as they want. Everybody's different, so stick to your team and what your team says, definitely. Next slide, please. My upsides. So one of my upsides, which I forgot to write down, was that on one of the Facebook groups, we actually started a surgery WhatsApp group for the February, and we were all, none of us knew each other. We all joined in this WhatsApp group, and we're still all in it now to this day. We're still chatting, more or less. Sometimes I'll not speak for weeks. Sometimes you can't shut each other up. And it really helped because of the different things that sometimes you sit there and you think, is this normal? Should it be like this? And you'll think it's something stupid. And then I popped it in my WhatsApp group and everyone was like, oh, I feel like that too, yeah. And you're like, oh, right, this is normal. It's not just me being silly. Some of my other upsides is I feel absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I love everything I'm doing. I always wanted to do the fastest zip line in the world. So my friend booked it for my birthday last year because I'd got down to weight to do it. And me and my mum always said we wanted to do it together. So all three of us went and shook me off a cliff because I'd lost weight. I quit smoking for the surgery. I've never started again. I had one blip last May. But I was like, no, you've already quit. What have you started for? Like the last lady said, going into a normal shop. I mean, what's normal? Going into a normal shop and trying something on. The first time I walked into a shop and picked a coat up that fit me, I cried and I cried and I cried in the middle of that shop because I could not believe I could put a coat on and it fitted me. I used to go shopping with my friends and it was like I'd stand in the corner really awkwardly because nothing in them shops fitted me. So I felt like everybody were looking at me like, what's she even doing in here? And now I just walk in and no one looks at you. No one. And people probably weren't looking at me in the first place. And people probably weren't thinking that in the first place. But to me, that was how I felt. I finally got my walking boots that I loved and I've wanted for years because they come past my calf. So I got them. They were a couple of months after surgery. I got them and they're still brand new in the cupboard because I refuse to wear them because I can finally wear them. I go walking now 8,000 steps at least a day, but I enjoy it. It's not a chore. It used to be a chore to take the dog for a walk. Everything just seemed to be a chore. And now I enjoy it. I love going walking. More upsides, I got back on the horse, back in the saddle on my friend's horse, which I've not done for 18 years. And I always grew up with horses. I had them all my life. But yeah, I got back in the saddle and managed to do that again. I don't have chafing anymore. Like the couple of days of hot weather we've had, only a couple. I've not had any chafing at all, which I used to constantly, it was constantly like under my belly, under my breast. It was red raw every time it was warm. I don't get that anymore. In again, the couple of days of hot weather we've had, I've worn shorts and a t-shirt and I've been in a paddling pool with my nieces and I've enjoyed it and I've had fun, where normally I'd have like loads of layers on and a coat and trying to hide myself because people are looking at me, but no one's actually looking at me. No one's looking, no one's bothered, and I don't think anyone was in the first place, but that's how I felt. But yeah, like last week, splashing around in the back garden with my nieces, just loving life and enjoying it. It was absolutely amazing. My self-esteem and my confidence has just grown millions, like absolutely just in myself. I'm so happy in myself. And my husband he's just joined Specialist Weight Management Service. He's watched my journey and it's inspired him to start the journey himself. So now he is going to be going down the bariatric surgery route. Next slide, please. So there we go, back on the horse. don't feel like, I always felt like I was too big and looked silly, even if I got on the biggest of horses, and no, that's not one of the biggest of horses, but I'm back on. Next slide, please. And that's me and my mum and me and my friend when she chucked me off a cliff because I've always wanted to do it. Next slide, please. I think this is just pictures after after my weight loss. Next slide. And that's it. I hope I've covered everything well enough.
Oh, Katrina, absolutely. That was just fabulous. Both of you are such naturals, such good speakers, because this is not an easy thing to do.